I'm just gonna say it, and maybe you disagree with me now, but hopefully by the end of the video, you at least see where I'm coming from. Light themes aren't actually that bad. You might be saying, wait, don't you run all your applications with a dark theme? Don't you use a dark theme on your phone? And yes, you would be absolutely correct, and in most cases, I'm going to recommend that you do exactly the same as well. Not just on the desktop, on mobile, and everything else you use as well. And that's not because light themes are inherently bad. That's because modern light themes are inherently bad, and it's a lot easier to find a really good looking dark theme. Before you leave your angry comments, follow along with me for a bit and you might see where I'm going. There are technological reasons why you might want to use a dark theme. If you use an OLED display and you have a dark theme that has a completely black background, this makes a lot of sense because you don't want to burn extra parts of the screen that you don't need to burn. Also, having parts of the screen be black mean that those parts aren't being powered, meaning that you potentially get a bit more battery life. How much really depends on the screen and how much of the screen is blacked out, but it is going to give you a bit more. This makes a lot of sense. However, when we're looking at a light theme, what is often described as the problem? They are way too bright. And GNOME is a really great example of this. Modern GNOME design is white on white on white with some black text, maybe a header in grey, and then some more white to wrap things up. And this isn't just a GNOME problem. The exact same is true over on the KDE side by default as well, and the exact same is true on the web. How many websites do you see where you open it up and the entire background is white? Maybe there's like a separator line with some more white around it. There'll be like a header and then white surrounding it. There are things that exist to color a page that are not white. Whilst that is the case, I really don't like the flashbang meme. There are people out there that are photosensitive that actually do have problems looking at screens that are completely white all day. Most people don't. Most people just find it a little bit unpleasant and would prefer to have something a bit darker instead. I'm in that camp. I don't want to stare at a white screen. I'm gonna stare at a dark theme instead. And the thing is, when we have these light themes that people find just way too bright, what is the simplest way to solve this? Well, the way most dark themes look are basically just an invert of the light theme. Maybe you have a slightly different accent color, but for the most part, it's white text on a black background, and that pretty much just solves the issue. Now, instead of white on white on white on white with some gray separators, a bit of an accent color, and black text, now it's black on black on black on black with some dark gray separators, an accent color, and white text. But this feels like it's addressing the symptom and not the cause. The symptom being everybody forgot that colors exist and light themes are just way too much white. But they don't have to be like this. When did we forget that light does not equal white? There are other things that can also be used. This is one of the areas where traditionally Windows has done an absolutely incredible job. Before the concept of this light and dark theme was as well established and you just had the theme of the OS, we didn't have this problem. Here we have Windows 98. We have a dark blue header bar, light grey buttons, a light grey menu, and yes, the panel in here is white. But there's also this light blue accent in here, and this coloured bar here as well, along with this light grey bar down the bottom. Now, obviously the icons here are very, very dated, but this style of theming is considerably more pleasant than anything that exists today. Let's move to the next version. Here is Windows ME. This is very much the same. They don't have the blue accent here anymore, but they do have more of an accent color here with the lines. It's just been expanded upon to be shapes now, and the rest of it is pretty much the same. The gray here is now more of like a yellowy gray, but it's still pretty much the same idea. As a fun little throwback, you might notice this C drive is 4 gigabytes. Just in case anyone was around at that time and you want to feel very old. Now we move into my era, Windows XP, and this is the pinnacle of what I am talking about. We have this blue header bar. This header bar is also a gradient, something that you just don't really see that much anymore. We have this yellowish, lightish gray menu. I don't know what you would describe this color as. We do have colored icons, which is nice to see now. And off to the side here, we have this giant blue window thing. Now, in a modern file manager, this would probably be something like your file tree, not whatever is going on here. But it's not white. It's not light gray. It's also a gradient. Once again, something you just don't normally see nowadays. We have these blue accents in here, which is a different blue than this blue up here. And then finally then, you have your white background. Now we move to Vista. Vista got a lot of hate for how badly optimized it was, and it absolutely deserved it. But Vista is a beautiful operating system. We have this glassy arrow, whatever you want to call it, header bar here. We have this blue with a gradient bar here. We have this blue text, not black text, blue text. We have another gradient down the bottom here, which is also blue. And then you have the white background in the middle. Also, we have these highlights, which are also blue, also a gradient, and also a different blue. Then we go to 7. 7 still has a lot of color, but it's a lot more muted in how it's doing that color. Now we have a very light blue. We don't have these big, vibrant colors like we had before. And we have black text here, and also a lot more white. But you can see how we got from these 2 points. Then we keep moving away from using color. Then we have Windows 8. All of a sudden, there's a lot more white here. Now we have these light gray menus. We have gray selections. Yes, we still do have a colored border, but it's pretty much all white. Then we go to 10, and now we have completely hit the problem with modern design. How did we go from something like this to absolutely no color besides white? I've seen some people say, oh, this stems from moving away from Aero. And yes, Aero was a really good time. XP was an Aero. ME was an Aero. 98 was an Aero. There is no reason why you can't have a really flat design like this and use the level of colors you had back in these older operating systems. I have no doubt that people back at this point were making darker themes for their system, but this whole concept of every app needing a light theme and a dark theme, every desktop needing a light theme and a dark theme, just wasn't really a thing yet. That is a fairly new concept, and I think it's a fairly new concept due to the way that modern light themes are designed. You wouldn't have people clamoring to move away from this if this is not what this was. What changed is modern designers are afraid of using color. If you see color in a theme, it's going to be in one of 2 places. 1, the icons. 2, an accent color. And this accent color is likely going to be consistent across every application. And I get it. This is an easier way to make a theme. When every single theme is okay, background white, okay, menu gray. Okay, let's have an accent color and just do it like that. This is a really easy way to make a theme and make it consistent across every single thing. Because even if you're not using the exact same theme, it's fairly likely it's going to be a pretty similar theme. So even across toolkits, things tend to look fairly close. Just imagine for a second that Adwaita went as wild as this, and then Plasma went as wild as this in a completely different direction with a completely different color scheme. Your apps are going to start clashing very, very quickly, and it's pretty common for users to have applications across many, many different toolkits, especially nowadays with a lot of applications also being in Electron. And speaking of Electron, we didn't always have these blindingly white themes on the web either. Oftentimes, you would have developers just having fun with web design. Imagine that. Actually making a website that makes you happy. Not just, oh, it's some black text on a white background. Ah, we have an accent color in the header bar. For example, this is a modern website that is keeping things going. Now, this website looks horrendous. Don't get me wrong, I don't think you should design a website like this. However, it is a lot more exciting to look at than every other blog I've seen in the past probably 5 or so years. With this push to sleek, modern, stylish, minimal design, whichever terms you're using, honestly, I think they all fit. It makes sense why modern light themes suck. Making a light theme that looks as good as something like Windows XP's is hard. And you know it's easy? White, black text, light grey, accent color. And then for the people who say, that looks terrible, I don't want to stare at that all day, making a dark theme is very easy, and it's very easy to make one that people are happy about. Black or dark grey, white text, accent color, boom. I have just explained to you every single theme that exists nowadays. If you start heavily using colors, things can start to clash and things can start to look bad, and I get it. Like, designing something that looks good is hard. I am not a designer. I know it looks good, but I don't know how to get there, and the people who do know how to get there, I have a lot of respect for them. Now, even while keeping things fairly flat and fairly minimal, you can use color and make things look good. Now, ignore the fact that it's going to be in purple. Personally, I would have used blue or red, maybe blue, but this is KDE Plasma. This is a lot more pleasant to look at than just white everywhere. Instead of this background being perfectly white, it is a slight shade of purple. We have a purple bar up here. We have purple for the selections. We have a slightly darker purple here. Yes, there is still some white being used here, but it is very, very minimal. Imagine this in blue. Imagine this in green. This would look really good. And you can very easily do this in KDE Plasma. But, what do you think? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm completely wrong? Do you like modern light themes? I would love to know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. That's going to be it for me. So if you like the video, go like the video. And if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe, Pay, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and flashbang.
Like this.